Coming up on American Medicine Today, our nation's libraries are under fire as many begin promoting sexualized topics to children while banning conservative content. Kirk Cameron shares his latest book and how he's been fighting to reintroduce wholesome story hours for children. Then, John suffered with back and sciatic pain for years, making it difficult to walk. After receiving exclusive procedures from the Bonati Spine Institute, he is ready to get back to work on his farm pain-free. Finally, Dr. Bonati exposes the troubles of teaching medical students spine fusions are the ultimate cure to any back-related pain. Find out why most people need to be seeking alternatives to a procedure that is more likely making things worse. Coming up on American Medicine Today.
Featuring cutting-edge science and medical innovation, touching personal stories of recovery from pain, along with political, social, and healthcare issues plaguing our nation. This is American Medicine Today, brought to you by the Bonati Spine Institute and Alfred Bonati, MD.
Welcome to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bonati, alongside Ethan Youker and world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati. It's our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the show. He's best known for his role in the hit 80s sitcom Growing Pains, but he's also a leading voice in the Christian conservative movement and author of several children's books, including his latest, Pride Comes Before the Fall. We welcome Kirk Cameron to the program. Thank you for being with us.
Oh, it's nice to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Let's jump straight into this children's book and the complaints against the American Library Association. Now, you accuse them of religious discrimination. Is that correct?
Well, essentially what the American Library Association and at least the director of the Office of Intellectual Freedom has accused me and my publisher Brave Books of doing is being a part of a group of people that is pushing bad ideas out there to families and kids through the libraries. And those ideas would be ideas like humility rather than pride, the virtues of love, joy, kindness, peace, and self-control. And they're trying to encourage libraries to deny access to families who want to read good books to their kids. They're not only engaging in religious discrimination because they don't like these families that want to come do this, but they're encouraging libraries to actually violate the Constitution, which would put them in legal jeopardy. And we want parents to know that, grandparents to know that, so that they can come out and join in the fight for the hearts and minds of their children at the local public library.
Some of these libraries that wouldn't allow you to come on your story hour tour, that, you know, they have no problem hosting drag show story hour and things of that nature. To me, that just seems completely backwards. Wouldn't you agree? It's more like they're celebrating sin, but books like yours that are about good morals, you can't come here. Weird, right?
Yeah. We're witnessing the fundamental transformation of the moral and societal code of America. We're in this transition period. And if we don't all jump on this with both feet, the America that we knew will go right off the cliff. And so that's why I'm so excited to see parents that are joining in on a movement to say, wait a minute, we the people are the ones who need to direct the morals and the faith of this nation. And we've got to get involved in the areas that matter the most. You know, just when I thought that I understood the rules, it's all about diversity, right? It's all about equity, right? And inclusion, right? Suddenly, why am I being excluded? Why aren't families who want to talk about faith and virtue being included? Why are they trying to maintain a monoculture of an anti-American, anti-Judeo-Christian value system in the public libraries paid for by your tax dollars and mine? So when we point this out, it starts to make sense. People connect the dots and they get involved.
And then we have the whole debacle with California when they're recently blocking a bill that would actually make child sex trafficking a felony. And they kind of relented a little bit due to the backlash, but that's insanity. They're destroying the family. They have removed God and Jesus from our country as much as they possibly can. And it just seems like it's a free-for-all, and we're just supposed to sit back and take it.
What I've learned as I continue to study history, and I see that this has happened over and over before. This is nothing new. There is nothing new under the sun. And in order to establish a new society, you've got to disestablish the current society and the current ethics. And that's what we're seeing. And these things happen not so much because there are more of them than there are of the liberty-loving, family-loving, faith-loving people in the country. It's that, for whatever reason, decided not to be vigilant in protecting the liberties and the values that we treasure. And we need to get into the fight. We need to not just be apathetic about it. We've got to stop being whiners and decide that we must be winners of securing blessing and protection for our children and their future. And that takes hard work.
And Kirk, apparently you actually, I guess, teamed up with the federal government to hold the ALA, American Library Association, accountable for this alleged religious discrimination. What can you tell us about that? Where are you at with that litigation?
Well, I haven't teamed up with the federal government. I think we've got a lot of issues there, but we've sent a letter to the federal government because the American Library Association is a nonprofit organization that gets grants from the government to the tune of millions of dollars. And we want them to investigate the ALA for their religious discrimination activity against good families who want to go to the library and read books of virtue to their children. And if anyone wants to get involved, go to bravebooks.com. That's bravebooks.com and click on the tab, See You at the Library, and we'll show you how to join us by hosting your own story hour at your public library.
You've also been quoted as saying that basically most Americans have lost faith in all of our institutions. What do you mean by that?
Well, I am pro-America. I'm pro-Constitution. I'm pro-civil government. I'm pro-church and pro-family. I've not lost faith in the institutions, but what we have done is we have allowed bad leadership to occupy those institutions. And what we need to do, it would be sort of like if my kids were in a school that was undermining all of my values, I don't lose my faith in school and education. I just have to get back in the driver's seat and begin to make sure that my kids' curriculum is all about the good stuff. So we've got a lot of work to do in that regard when we talk about the institutions of civil government, of church, and of the family. Unfortunately, many have been convinced to outsource parenting and education to people who don't have their best interests in mind. We need to take all of that back and put our kids first.
We're seeing more and more of the indoctrination at the elementary school level and then continuing through university. And it's not about patriotism and love and faith and family. It is anti all of that. And supposedly the government knows better than the parents. Now, why don't you tell us more about your book, Pride Comes Before the Fall?
Well, my first children's book was called As You Grow, and it's a book that teaches kids the value of biblical wisdom and the value of growing the fruits of the Spirit through the seasons of their life: love, joy, peace, faithfulness, kindness, self-control. And my second book is called Pride Comes Before the Fall, which is obviously a reference to a proverb in the Bible that says, pride comes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. It's better to have a spirit of humility with the lowly than to share plunder with the proud. And so I want to teach kids the blessing of humility, of being humble and kind and putting other people first. This is so important right now in a culture where kids are being bombarded with a message about being full of pride, that it's all about me and my identity and my expression and what I want and being empowered to do what I want to do. And we know that no one loves a person who's filled with pride. We want our children to learn how to be humble. That's what secures relationships between us and God, humility, and one another. It's a great little tale about an elephant and a tiger who have to learn these important lessons, or they're going to go over the waterfalls in the midst of this rafting race.
Here's what I want to know. Why do you think white conservative Christians have been targeted and labeled as the enemy in this country? It's mind-blowing. I mean, we've had a friend of yours, Kevin Sorbo, aka Hercules, on the show, and he talks about the same thing, that you get vilified if you are a conservative Christian, especially if you're a white male in this country. Your thoughts on that?
Marxism is essentially socialism, and that just wants to grow up and become communism. And all of these isms are about authoritarian government. And the way that you get there is by dividing people up into different groups. So you divide them up over race, divide them up over religion, divide them up over the color of their skin, divide them up over their social or economic status, divide them up over their vaccination status, and get them all fighting with each other. It's what a bully does, is he tells this kid that that kid is bad. He tells that kid that this kid is bad, and it gets them both fighting. Now one of them will beat the other one up, and now the bully only has one enemy to deal with, not two. That's how these regimes take over. So good and bad has nothing to do with the color of your skin. It has nothing to do with whether you're male or female. That's an issue of the heart. And the place that the human heart belongs is in relationship with God and with one another. And so that's what they want to get rid of. If they can do that, you've lost your identity, you're disoriented, you feel scared and alone, and then you look to the state to be your provider and protector. That's what's actually going on. So as for old white guys who are conservative and Christian, they had a lot to do with abolishing slavery. If you look at who the people are that established things like human rights and free speech and religious freedom, you're going to go back to the founders and the pilgrims, and these people were biblicists. And many of them were European conservative Christians that we have, we're deeply indebted to them. So enough with this nonsense. Let's stop whining about what other people are saying about us, and let's just advance the good and amplify the light.
There's definitely a concerted effort by the left to sort of silence American loving countries, citizens and things like that. I just don't understand. How are we supposed to fight back against the left?
I found that there are two different types of people that I come across in the world, and particularly in the media. There are reporters and there are reformers, and they're not the same. Reporters talk a lot about what the enemies of liberty and the enemies of the good are doing, and that's it. Reporters are not necessarily reformers. I'm grateful for reporters, but then we need people to go from pointing out what the enemy is doing to figuring out what to do about it and turn the ship around. And we need to say, the sovereign in this country is we the people. And change does not begin at the White House. Change begins at your house and my house.
Thank you so much for being on the program. It is an uplifting talk with you. Kirk Cameron, thank you for joining us on American Medicine today.
Have a great day.
Make sure you stay tuned. Coming up after the break, a story of recovery. World-renowned Dr. Bonati created the Bonati Spine Procedures to minimize surgery scarring and recovery. 75,000 procedures have resulted in 98.75% satisfaction. Over half our patients suffer from failed surgeries at other facilities. Visit AskBonati.com.
My name is John Santana. I'm a crane operator. Been running cranes since 1979. Besides that, I have a little kind of farm, 5 acres. On our farm, we have cows and chickens and big backyard and fire pit, and we have a swimming pool, and the grandkids come and they'll drive the golf cart and four-wheelers, and we have a fabulous time. We always have big parties, very active around my place or my grandfather's place.
John first noticed his pain while attending a friend's wedding. Over the years, his pain continued to worsen to the point that he couldn't work or perform chores around his farm.
My pain started probably about 8 years ago. And we were actually going to a wedding in Las Vegas, and I couldn't walk down the streets. My sciatica in my left rear was hurting, and it was hard to walk around and all that. And I just been dealing with it for, many years. And then This last 2 years, it kept going worse, where I had a numbing sensation down my left leg, and extreme pain. The pain kind of went away a little bit, but it was still, my whole leg's numb. All the years of hard work has kind of destroyed some of my lower back. If I go out and I'll fertilize the grass, my wife has to spell me halfway through it because my calves are burning so bad and I can't walk anymore. My back does go out like 2 or 3 times every year, where I can't walk and bend over too much for like 3 weeks, and then it just kind of goes away.
John tried conservative treatments at home, but when they didn't eliminate his pain, he went to his local doctor for help.
Try to ice it, and stretching. Oh, it makes it always better when you're stretching, do the right stretches. That's why I've dealt with it for so long, 8 years. And so I had my doctor that set me up for an MRI back at home, and then that's where the diagnosis was spinal stenosis. Talked to surgeons. I went to like 2 or 3 of them and dropped it off. But in the medical industry, it's so screwed up where you have to have somebody request and do this and all this red tape, and takes you forever to go even get an appointment, or they forget about it, or it's on somebody's desk, and it just kicks a can down the road, because the way the system really is terrible in the medical industry. I'd hate to see it government funded. It'd be really bad then.
John initially heard about the Bonati Spine Institute on TV. Curious, he contacted Bonati to learn more about the exclusive Bonati Spine Procedures.
I heard about Bonati through Newsmax. I'd watch his shows on the weekends and all that kind of stuff, where his wife's in there and they talk about it and everything else, and I thought that was a better way to go. And then I reached out. Actually, there's another gentleman that lives in Oregon that had their procedure done, and he's doing very fine now.
After speaking to Dr. Bonati on the phone, he made an appointment and booked his flight from Oregon to Hudson, Florida. Dr.
B called me, but I couldn't hear, because I was working, and I didn't know who it was and all that. And, he said I had a back of an 85-year-old man and didn't know if I'd go upstairs and everything. And he did say it was pretty messed up. And so I did talk to Bonati, and I think the very, very first time. And then, Dr. Wolf was my surgeon, and he reached out to me and, before the surgery to go through the process, because I'm kind of a detailed guy. When I arrived down here, it was very, helpful, and they got me right in, and we took care of business, and everybody guided me and helped me.
The targeted Bonati Spine procedures are performed incrementally and on an outpatient basis while utilizing conscious IV sedation. This allows the patient to remain awake and communicating with their surgeon to ensure the source of their pain is eliminated before they leave the operating table.
Like after the second surgery, there was less numbing going down my leg. They were communicating with me, through my final surgery, which I think probably was the roughest, because that was where most of the damage, was. Everything went really well. I was very pleased, and as soon as I got out of surgery, I was already kind of awake, to go into the waiting room there and recovery room, and then that was, my day was done. They did have me walk and make sure I was stable, and gave me some apple juice and a cookie, because I was really hungry.
How's the pain on a scale of 0 to 10?
Good. 0.
Excellent.
Yeah, my experience so far, I feel, has been a success, because the way, they operate it and they do the business, and, I had a wonderful caregiver that's been helping me and taking me all my appointments and taking care of me and everything. It's been, a wonderful experience. Yes, I would recommend this procedure because, the process is, very sensible and smart. They recommend, walk every day and 40 minutes a day. And my advice for somebody, if they do have a spinal stenosis, is probably check all your options. Don't go with your local doctor and all that, because usually they want to harm you and they don't really care. And then they see you back in 8 years. So I always try the least invasive procedure where, I don't do extra harm to my body or harm for the future. And this system seems really quite wonderful on being able to give people the relief that they need, if it's just, cleaning around some nerves and all that, and relocate certain things. So my doctor said I will have a good recovery.
Here I go, leaving Tampa, Bonati Center.
I think everybody was shocked, like, really, you had surgery today? I had a drain tube. I was at my desk doing payroll for 200 employees, worked till night, got up, went to bed.
6 days after surgery, I was back in the gym, slowly but surely working my way back to fighting, back to basically 100% of fighting, So 6 days, and everybody wasn't all like, didn't you just get out of surgery? I'm like, yeah, I feel great. And like, let's see how you do. And I was bowling with everybody, and I'm in the advanced class. So that sounds a lot right there.
First time I came in here was Monday, and today is Thursday. I've had 2 surgeries and am doing fantastic. I'm still in shock that I can walk. That's all within 4 days.
Bonati succeeds where others fail. Welcome back to American Medicine Today. So, Dr. Bonati, we're seeing the people that are told that nothing can be done. They're just going to be exchanging one pain for another, and they come to you, and you're able to get them out of pain.
Was a meeting in Boston the last month, where 760 scientists and doctors came over to talk about a compromise of why they cannot correct the pain back, or the pain that is created just on the back. Mm-hmm. The back pain is a tremendous amount of a problem for the medical society, preferentially general practitioners and orthopedic surgeons and neurosurgeons. Patients don't complain of the leg pain, they complain of back pain. Yeah. Physicians can correct immediately the problem that is affecting the radiculopathy, the legs or the arms that they are hurting.
Sure.
But they cannot correct the problem on the lower back.
Why?
This meeting with all these people came with a statement that is because it's a trauma on the thoracolumbar fascia. They don't really understand the physiopathology of the pain. We have patients with back pain that will solve the problem immediately. It's because the pain is not associated with muscular areas or tendon areas or bone problems.
What is the problem?
It's associated with an irritation to the membrane of the spinal cord that we call dura. And it's a collapse of some of the vertebrae that they collapse the pedicle. And the pedicle impinge the dura. That creates that back pain. We have hundreds of cases that those patients that they come to us with that problem, just back pain, the pain was immediately removed once we interpreted clearly which type of a level is the one that was creating those symptoms. It's amazing to see that the procedure that we developed corrected the problem in an hour.
With no hardware, no devices,
hardware, no fusion. The surgery takes around 1 hour.
Right.
And the results are right in the operating room. The patient said, my back pain is gone.
Yes.
And all this enormous research being done by PhD people to measure pressures and distances and everything that they can measure or everything that they can use to work
Except
to
the
look at the
results.
biomechanics of the spine, and they never get the solution.
And they never really got patient satisfaction.
Occasionally, every one of us had some back pain,
Yes.
and then suddenly you go, oh my God, I cannot move, right? We're lucky enough that thing goes away in the first 10 minutes that we move. But with that type of pain, a person is practically unable to perform, unable to work, and to have a normal life.
Why do you think it is that they haven't broken away from fusions? Why is it that is still kind of the to-go-to, even now?
Because everybody's thinking that the cause of the pain is an abnormal motion. That is done by students and directed by doctors that they are the heads of the departments. They don't really understand the biomechanics of the spine. And if you don't understand what really is creating the problem, you cannot solve it.
Do you think that's because they're trying to fast-pace medical doctors?
Well, we destroyed the medical system long time ago. Mm-hmm. From the 60s till now, the legal system and the political system, they are involved in practically eliminate medicine as a profession that can create wealth.
Or they're developing medications so that people don't have surgeries, and that only masks the issue, and then over time, the person's problem compounds.
Correct.
To a point where they can become paralyzed and needing to use different devices just to get around.
Well, to me, it's extremely surprising. Every single day, I see people that they are in such a bad shape, and we put them back in such a good shape that it's just a blessing to see a situation like that day after day. There are people that request our service every month. It's around 1,600 people. Usually we select around maybe 80 people that they are the ones that we think that they are in the worst conditions. Every week, one different patient is being presented with a solution they themselves don't believe is possible in their life.
And unfortunately, we're getting these people typically after they've gone through invasive fusion surgeries, and you're able to remove those screws that are mangled and tangled in nerves and loosening in bones, and they're getting back to their normal lives. It's truly miraculous. To find out if you're a candidate for the Bonati Spine Procedures, visit AskBonati.com. If you have any comments or questions, contact us at the numbers below. Or you can tweet at Dr. Bonati using the hashtag American Medicine Today or hashtag AMT. We would like to hear from you. Starting September 9th, American Medicine Today will be switching platforms so that we will become more accessible to our audience. Please watch for us on YouTube and Rumble. We appreciate your continued viewership.